What's up YouTube? Welcome back to Simplify It, and today we're talking about 5 things you'll learn as a student pilot. Now, the main function, at least initially of this channel, is to break apart the ACS piece by piece, and there should be another video out today breaking apart the first section of Task B in the ACS. However, I want to mix these videos in as well for the people who maybe haven't started flight training and are considering it, and just because these style videos are fun to make as well. Alright, so we're going to go in no particular order. I've got a few things drawn out here. I've also decided to just block out until we get a better setup this middle part for the ring light. So to start off, I've got written here Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, etc. And a lot of you probably know what this is, which is the phonetic alphabet. But it's more than just the phonetic alphabet. When pilots talk to ATC and vice versa, we're speaking in a format that can be described as its own language, quote unquote. When you're flying to a new airport and you want to go and land there and you want to communicate with the tower, you're not just going to call them and say, hey, I'm coming in, can I land? Aviation has safety built into just about every aspect, so to make sure that there's no confusion, we speak in a specific format. So if I'm coming to a new tower, it's going to sound something more like this. Sedona Tower, 1234, X-ray, 10 miles south, information, Zulu, requesting a full stop landing. By me speaking that format, I've addressed who I'm talking to, who I am, where I am, and what I want. And from that point, ATC is going to respond accordingly with their own format. If you guys would like a video breaking down how to confidently communicate with ATC and the format that we speak in, comment down below because I can definitely do that. In your training, at some point, everybody gets to that point where we have to start talking on the radio to ATC, and it can be very intimidating, but I can assure you, the more you can practice at home, and the more you practice in the plane, you will get better and you'll be able to speak confidently. And learning and understanding the appropriate verbiage and format on the ground will make you a much better and more confident speaker when you're in the air. Alright, the next thing I have drawn, which might be a little harder to see, is a few different things. We've got an oil temp gauge and a wrench and a piston and a battery, but basically what I'm trying to get out of that picture is you're going to learn systems knowledge about the plane that you're flying. It may be the case that half the people on the road driving around do not understand what's actually happening with their engine and their battery and the internal components of their car. But when it comes to aviation, there's an expectation of you to understand actually what's going on within the systems of your plane. And this is because of the same principle as the communication we were just talking about. The better you understand these systems on the ground, when something's possibly going wrong in the air, and you understand, okay, this is what's going wrong, you're going to be able to handle that situation much better. So in order to have that deeper level understanding, you're going to be learning about your plane's engine, its fuel system, its electrical system, as well as the systems that are going to be specific to your plane, such as its flight control systems, like its ailerons and its flaps, and you'll even be learning the nuanced differences that there are from plane to plane. Two planes that are the same model, coming out from the same year, may have entirely different cockpits. And so if you're at a flight school that has different planes like that, then you're going to be learning the nuances of each of those planes as well. But that's really dependent on where you train. What's not inconsistent is that you will be learning the systems regardless. Alrighty, so the next thing that I've got drawn on here is a picture of an H and a line with some spikes coming out of it. And if you're in your flight training, maybe you've become familiar with this. What it's a drawing of is a high pressure symbol along with a cold front symbol. And what I'm getting at here is you're going to become familiar with weather and weather patterns and interpreting weather products. Aviationweather.gov is going to become your new best friend. They say that pilots have to become a little bit meteorologists, a little bit lawyers, a little bit engineers, and a little bit doctors all in one. It's a lot more than just the flying. Granted, I'm a flight instructor and I'm not an expert meteorologist, but that's why we also become experts at using our resources. One of the things you should definitely learn how to do in your flight training, and your flight instructor is doing you a disservice if he doesn't teach you how to do this, is to simply just call a weather briefer from aviationweather.gov, or 1-800-WX-BRIEF, I should say. There are meteorologists out there that work at flight service stations, the same ones that we can call in the air. We can also call via that number, 1-800-WX-BRIEF, and they can tell us all about the weather in any given area that we're at or we plan to go to. They are the experts that can help you clarify information if you're confused, and they can also help you learn a lot. Task C of the ACS is centered around weather completely, and we're starting Task B today, but Task C will be next, so stay tuned and we'll be making tons of video about weather. For a lot of people, weather seems to be their least favorite task and least favorite subject in aviation to talk about. For me, I'm on the other side. It just seemed to stick for me better. It's one of the easier things to understand in my opinion, but everybody's different. And if you plan on making aviation a career, weather's going to be a crucial part of it, whether you like it or not. Weather's going to be a crucial part of it, whether you like it or not. Alright, the next thing I've got drawn here is actually two things I'm kind of lumping together. I've got a drawing of a balance table and an airfoil, a wing basically, with air flowing around it. And in here I'm lumping together just physics and aerodynamics basically. Now don't worry, you're not going to have to become some expert physicist or aerodynamics expert as a pilot, but you are going to have to learn some basics. We can't expect to be pilots if we don't really even understand the basics of how we're generating lift, right? So you're not going to be worthy of receiving a degree in aerodynamics by the end of your flight training, but there's going to be certain principles and laws of physics that you learn to understand how they apply to the plane. We'll be making videos on them as they come out in the ACS, as we're making the progression of videos for them. You're going to learn other things like how the center of gravity affects your plane's flight characteristics and what to and not to do when it comes to loading up weight in your plane. You're going to understand how things like the weather can even impact the performance of your plane. You'll learn things like why at a cold, dry, low elevation airport, your plane's going to be able to climb at 700 feet per minute compared to a hot, high elevation, humid airport where you might get 300 feet per minute. Like I said in my first video, guys, I am no genius, and you do not need to be a genius to learn this stuff. You just have to study it in a way that works for you. Alright, and last thing we've got for the video, not last thing you're going to learn, is maybe the drawing's misleading. We've got a plane spinning. You're not going to be, as a student pilot, spinning the plane. Your instructor's not going to be spinning the plane with you in it necessarily. Some flight schools do their own spin training and some flight schools don't. They'll outsource it to another school. But what you will be learning is stall and spin awareness, as well as different maneuvers. Some of the most exciting but also challenging things you're going to be doing in your training is the maneuvers and procedures that you learn in flight. Some of the maneuvers are going to be stalls and spin awareness during those stalls. Spin awareness isn't really a maneuver, but just being aware of how to prevent a spin from happening. You'll be learning steep turns. You'll be learning slow flight, basically just flying the plane as slow as you possibly can without stalling it. You'll learn multiple different emergency procedures, which is going to include an emergency descent where you're losing altitude fast. And you'll be learning different kinds of landings in different configurations, like landings with and without flaps, landing on very short fields, landing on grassy fields. In a lot of cases, these landings are simulated. You're just pretending to land on a grassy field. You're not actually landing on a grassy field. But it's for the sake of learning the procedure for if you did want to land on a grassy field one day. Now, if you want to become a flight instructor, then you do have to get your spin endorsement, so you will be going out with a flight instructor and intentionally spinning the plane so that you can learn the recovery process in person. This is so that you can drill the recovery process and feel what the plane really feels like when it's on the edge of a spin. But as a student pilot just getting your private pilot license, you are not obligated to get your spin endorsement. So you can if you want, but it's not a requirement. Alright guys, that's going to be it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit like and subscribe for me as we're growing this channel. We're still pretty small. And if you do that, it shows YouTube that more student pilots should see this. There's going to be another video up today on the first subsection of Task B of the ACS. And we're going to continue breaking down each part of the ACS every day as well, guys. So if you're interested in that as well, check out my other previous videos and stay tuned for the ones coming out. But anyways, guys, I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow.